Hey there everybody, welcome to the channel. So today we are going to be doing some laser print gel plate transfers. So these are going to be a little bit different than probably what you have seen on some other videos. We're going to stack some of these transfers on top of each other, meaning we're going to do multiple transfers before we actually pull the print. So we're going to do some rectangles here on the right hand side, and then on the left we're going to do some circles. So what you're going to see is when you do these in different orders, you're going to get a different amount of paint that gets lifted up by each successive transfer, meaning that there will be different amounts of paint that are left over on the plates when you do your final print pull. And this will make much more sense once you've seen it. But let's go ahead and get started. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is lay down our first layer of paint. And we're going to start with some yellow, some golden fluid acrylic primary yellow. I think that the golden fluid acrylics work better as gel plate paint than just about anything else. So we're going to do these one at a time, because if you do them both at the same time, this paint dries so fast that you're going to end up with your paint drying before you can get everything situated, and that is not enough paint. If you talk to anyone that's done any gel plate transfers, what they're going to tell you is that this is not an exact science. You can try these time and time again, and you're going to get some different results depending on a lot of things. Still want a little bit more paint on there. So we're doing this in real time. You're going to notice that this is very light pressure. You basically just want the paper to touch the gel plate all around, and then you're going to lift it up almost immediately. All right, so you're going to see that we have a pretty clean transfer here, and you can see that we got really good resist here. So I'm very happy with that. Let's do these circles on the other side. So for this one, we'll also use yellow. I really want to show you what the two different effects are of using the heavy toner paper versus the lighter toner paper, what order you do them in. A little bit more paint. All right, so we're going to take these thin 1-point circles, lay this down. Just make sure that the paper is touching everywhere, but you're not really pressing down. You're just basically laying it down, and then you're going to lift it up almost immediately. You're going to see on this one on the left, we've got a little bit more of that kind of ghost plate tone from the yellow paint. We did get a lot of those really nice thin circles that printed on there, transferred on there rather. It's very tough to see because they're extremely light, and it's yellow against the newsprint underneath. So I can assure you that these are there, and we'll put another couple of layers on top of this. And when we pull that up at the end, you're going to be able to see some of those yellow circles. So let's make sure that these are dry. Okay, on to the next layer. So for this one, we're going to use these kind of smaller tweaked rectangles on the right hand side, and we're going to use some primary magenta. Get that rolled out. So this looks like just about the perfect amount of paint here. It's very hard to describe what it looks like when you have the perfect amount of paint. This looks like it to me. It might be on the light side. I think this is going to give us good results. And let's see. Again, just barely touch to make sure that we have contact across the plate, and then lift it up. Okay, so you can see here that when we lifted that, we took a lot of that yellow off of there. So a lot of that yellow transfer did not make it. Yeah, that may or may not be desirable. I think it'll still be interesting looking, but we did lose a lot of our yellow there. So that's what happened. Let's move on to the second layer of our bubbles, and we're going to also use our primary magenta. Okay, here we're going to use our 2-point stroke bubbles. See how this turns out. And we did get some more of that pink plate tone up here. I can't see. It does not look like there's a lot of yellow left on that plate, but again, it's kind of hard to see. Okay, so for our last layer here, we're going to do some of those very, very light 1-point stroke rectangles on the right-hand side, and we're going to use some primary cyan. The primary colors always look really good when they're layered on top of each other because you get that whole, you know, process color looking thing. So let's go ahead and give us some more blue. That is not enough paint. All right. All right, and you can see that we actually took some more of our red and yellow off of there with that transfer. What you're going to be left with is just some kind of relics of the previous transfers with those very, very thin blue tweaked rectangles, which are super clean in some places and not so clean in others. That should actually be a pretty interesting print anyway. Now we're going to do our final bubbles on the left-hand side. So these are just some black filled bubbles. Now keep in mind, when you're preparing a print to do these transfers, you want to make sure that your fills and strokes are 100% pure black. The default on some of the graphic design applications will frequently be something like warm black or some other black that's, you know, tweaked for your screen reproduction or whatever. But really what you want is 100% black. So when you go and do your fills and your strokes, you want to make sure that if you're doing them in CMYK, which you should be, you want to make sure the CM and Y is all the way down to 0 and the K is all the way up to 100. So these are 100% black filled circles, and you can tell that there's a ton of toner on this page because as you kind of look at it at an angle, the toner is so heavy on here that it's shiny. So let's go ahead and get these circles down onto this plate here on the left. All right, so it looked like there was kind of some weird amount of paint on there. So you will see here that we do have some lifting of some of those previous red bubbles. And so you're gonna, like I said, be left with some kind of remnants of what we had in the previous transfers. Now, you may be asking, why is it that you would do this if you're gonna be destroying your transfers from layer to layer? And I don't really look at it like that. My version of art, anyway, I'm just trying to get things that look interesting. So frequently that will be things that are not very clean, are not very predictable. And if you love unpredictability, then doing image transfers with a laser printer on gel plates is going to be something that you will love. You will definitely get odd results from print to print. This is something that you never would have been able to kind of plan for, what it was that was going to be left versus what it is that you put down in the first place. So what you get out of this is going to be largely up to many different variables and a lot of chance. And you do actually get quite interesting results with this, I think. Let's go ahead and let these dry, and then we will pull the prints. So as far as pulling these final prints, I'm going to use just some cardstock. This is great stuff to use if you want a white background without spending all the money that you would on, a Bristol pad. This is not quite as heavy as the Bristol, but for, pulling lots of prints, this is good stuff. I'm going to use some matte medium from Golden, and you really don't need very much of it at all. And let's get this down. And we will weight this down in a moment. Let's go ahead and get the one on the left. With that, let's go ahead and use a different brayer. That one was getting kind of funky. All right, so let's get these weighted down, at least for about 20 minutes or so. So I use these sheets of tempered glass to get the weight evenly distributed. In fact, flip that over, give myself some more space. I just have these made at a local glass shop, and as long as you don't drop them, they will last forever. And then weight them down. And then give this about 20 minutes to 30 minutes, and then we will go ahead and pull them. All right, let's go ahead and pull these prints. Okay, so these are our rectangles. And these are our circles. So you can see here that we used the same colors of paint but got really wildly different results. I think that the yellow light bubbles on this side are basically gone. It looks like that all of that yellow just lifted up. According to the yellow, that was not a successful print. However, I do think that this is interesting nonetheless. I really do like how all the cyan paint didn't really stick to the plate very well, and so you got this kind of bubbling, crazing type of situation in some places down here, whereas up here you got a really nice solid print. And you can see as well that it lifted all of the red bubbles up here off of the plate, except for where it was doing the resist. So you have the red bubbles inside the blue bubbles exclusively up in this area. And then you have some other more interesting mixing of colors down here when you had that more pink plate tone that stuck around after that second transfer. Now on this one, we did keep some of the yellow, and that makes sense because we started out with a much heavier deposit of yellow in the first place, because we were using the really heavy filled squares and rectangles on this one on the first layer. So we did maintain some of the yellow here, which is cool. We got some of the magenta that stuck around, and then of course our blue. We got a ton of blue plate tone here. I think that the brayer actually had a little bit of blue paint on it left when I did the matte medium to pull the print. And we also got some of these very, very crispy cyan blue 1-point outlined rectangles. So I think these are both interesting, and obviously they look very, very different, even though we used basically the same process and the same colors of paint. And so that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.